Wayne Larden, race director of the TCS Sydney Marathon presented by ASICS. Welcome to my podcast.
Thanks, Dom. Nice to speak to you. How are you?
I'm sensational, mate. I'm fizzing. The countdown's on for Sydney 2025, the first year as a major. This is going to be my third year as a competitor, and I can't wait. And we'll get into the reasons why I can't wait during this chat. But first of all, when someone asks you what you do, how do you describe your role?
Jesus, it's pretty diverse, actually. When I started Pont 3 in 2005, my role could be described as doer of everything almost. But as we've grown, and especially in the last sort of couple of years through the Abbott World Marathon Majors candidacy now becoming a major, we've grown from I think we had 10 staff when we started on the candidacy program. We've got about 35 now. So, my role's changed a lot over the years. I mean, obviously responsible for strategy and commercial strategy and growth and things like that. But what I'm passionate about is participant experience and making sure that runners have the best possible time, that we deliver the best possible course we can in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, of course. But, there's a lot more sort of mundane tasks of managing a bigger team. But a lot of my stuff's around relationships, really, and building good relationships with government and building good relationships with partners, commercial partners, landowners, service providers and our staff and team and the people who are actually on the ground delivering the event. So it's quite diverse. I like to know what's going on within the business, but we've got a great team, a great management team and great core team. So, you've also got to give them a little bit of trust and let them do what they've got to do and just guide them when you need to. But we've got such a great team.
Yeah.
It's not hard, and they do a great job. So, you can't describe my role in one sentence. It's just very diverse.
Reading between the lines of that answer, it sounds like you're a very low-flying helicopter, keeping an eye across everything.
Low and high. You got to I don't want to fly too low because you get caught in the weeds too much. But you've also got to fly pretty high too at times and look forward, out of the day-to-day sort of clutter and whatnot that goes around delivering an event of this scale. But I'm passionate about the job and the event, so I do like to know what's going on, but I don't micromanage. It would be impossible to micromanage an event the scale of this. You just don't have enough time. But so it's a bit of both. Yeah.
When you first got involved in the Sydney Marathon 20 years ago, there was 1,200 competitors, I think. And this year, 2025, it's going to be 35,000. When an event scales up that size, what are the big differences? Is it 35 times harder?
Well, some people suggest that it should be easier since I've been doing it so long, but there's always something that changes every year, from year to year, you might, really nail it across the board, and then 20% of things will change, like with, it's Sydney and any city is a living city, and living cities need to be maintained and looked after, and that means roadways need to be dug up and other things happen throughout the city that just mean you have to be adaptable. I wouldn't say it's 30 times the workload. It's certainly a lot more. But scaling that much, you do have to think a lot more carefully about, crowd flow, how people flow through your venues, through the public transport system to get to the start, from the start line through the course, through the entire course and any pinch points on the course and after the finish, and all of the services that are required to, make that journey a memorable, an enjoyable and safe one. You're scaling, you are scaling, but the same principles apply. You're just looking at it with a much bigger lens and more people required to deliver it and whatnot and more, equipment and everything else. But having done it for 20 years, we know what we're doing. But it is definitely different to 20 years ago. And I say I had a vision. I knew when I took over management and owning the rights to this event in 2005, I knew this event would be special. I knew it had all the hallmark ingredients to become a truly amazing international marathon, in a great city, on a great course with iconic landmarks and finish line. I thought we would get to where my vision was a lot earlier than we did. It took me 18 years to grow it from 1,200 to 5,000, and it took us 3 years to grow it to 35,000. So it's certainly accelerated. But yeah, you're not thinking too differently to what you used to. You're just thinking at a bigger scale.
Yeah. The funny thing is the World Marathon Majors as a series, that only started in 2006. So it was only launched like a year after you took over. But for non-runners, like, what does that mean exactly, and why is it a big deal, being a World Marathon Major?
Look, I think there's a number of things, right? That's the Abbott World Marathon Majors is the most respected, most sought after series in the world. They're the best organised events with the biggest, participation numbers in some of the most beautiful cities in the world, which makes the series attractive. The series events themselves are all oversubscribed, so there's really strong demand. I think the Abbott World Marathon Majors and the creation of the series and the 6-star medal added a really nice new element to link all the events together in a more meaningful way, and create that sort of tangible thing to chase for runners to stay within the series framework, and pursue all of the events in the series and not just do one or two and drop out and go and do different races. So it gave a focal point for runners to chase and achieve something pretty special. That demand too, like from our perspective and from our key partners' perspective, like the New South Wales government and Destination New South Wales, who have been big supporters of ours for a long time, the impact of becoming an Abbott World Marathon Major from a visitation perspective is incredible. Like, it's chalk and cheese. You cannot describe the growth in economic activity that comes with us becoming an Abbott World Marathon Major. And I'll give you an example. Sort of pre-COVID, say in 2019, we were delivering about 5,000 to 5,300 in the marathon, and our international numbers were, they were reasonable. We were getting, a couple of thousand runners from overseas, and economic impact was a nice 15 million each year. Really great. However, when you start talking about, a 35,000 person field in the marathon, of which 60% of them are coming from outside of New South Wales, and they're bringing sort of 2, 3, 4 people with them and staying 5 to 10 days, then the economic impacts, it just goes through the roof. We're talking about, this year something like $150 million in economic activity for the state of New South Wales, not to mention the destination promotion of our city throughout the world and the running community through the broadcast generally, and through social media channels. So the attraction of becoming an Abbott World Marathon Major is significant. And what comes with that then is additional investment from government, and they've been unbelievably supportive, and a massive increase in commercial interest from sponsors. And that additional revenue allows us to do stuff on the course that we could never do before. So we can really enhance the participant experience, and, make that journey fun and memorable and all these sort of really cool things that we want to do and have wanted to do for a long time. But you need a big budget to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, a slightly selfish question here. I'm a 6-star finisher. Is the medal going to change? Is there going to be like a 7-star finisher medal?
Yeah, so what the strategy is, as you might know, Dom, there's two other races in the candidate program, and the goal is for a 9-race series. So what the Abbott World Marathon Majors are doing is keeping the 6-star medal as it is, and then once Cape Town pass this year, and we expect that they will, excuse me, and Shanghai having just come into the candidacy program last year, assuming they pass this year and next year. Once there's 9 races in the series, then the Abbott World Marathon Majors will release a 9-star medal.
Oh, my God. My mum's going to be devastated when I tell her this. She's 73. She's a 6-star finisher. She's still running. She might have to keep going until she's 80, right?
Well, mate, you know what? It's amazing now, like, Dom, it's incredible how times have changed and how people, are running so much further into their lives. They're living healthier lifestyles and technology and whatnot. And, seeing the number of people who might have dropped out of running at a much younger age, still continuing on that journey and living nice, healthy lives and still doing these races is incredible.
Yeah. What's your relationship with running now? Because I did a bit of research on you. You're not a suit. You're not an admin guy. Like you're a bloody good runner. You're a 2:16 marathoner. Just about qualified for the Olympics, but missed out due to injury. You've been to World Cross Country Champs. Do you get FOMO on race day now? But you're so busy that you can't take part.
I tell you, Dom, every year it's one of my. I'm so jealous when I send the runners off at the start line wanting to be able to take part in the event. Not that I'm anywhere near as fit as what I was when I was a lot younger, but I just love running, Dom. Like, running's been a part of my life since I was 12 years old, and it's helped me through a lot of difficult times over the years. And, it's taken me places that I would never have gone before and introduced me to people that I would never have met before. And it definitely changed my life in a really positive way. And, to be able to continue that relationship with running post a running career is a really special opportunity for me. And I feel like I owe a lot to running because running's done so much for me. And I love my job. Like, I just love it every single day. I'm excited to go to work. I love using all of the experience that I have to be able to, deliver an event that has meaning and that people enjoy. But I am jealous every single year when that gun gets fired and they go running off on this most beautiful marathon course in the world. And then I'll duck over to that finish line and see everyone coming down to the forecourt of the Opera House and that backdrop that they're running towards and think, I would just really love to do that one day. It's not going to happen while I'm race director, but maybe one day. I have committed this year, though. I will have the opportunity this year for the first time to run in one of our events on the Saturday in the mini marathon. So I'm going to do that for a couple of reasons. One, I want to just see what the experience is like on this new format on the Saturday and the new course. But two, I haven't done it before, so I want to experience what everyone else does, albeit in a shorter format, but I'm really excited about that, mate.
Yeah. What are you more proud of, like your achievements as a runner or the achievements as a race director? They're both really impressive.
That's easy. I'm a way better race director than I was a runner. I was a reasonable runner who went into 4 world cross-country champs and won an Aussie title in cross and got a couple of medals in other Aussie champs and whatnot and did a few fast times. But I'm a 10 times better race director than I ever was runner, and I'm really passionate about it. And the good thing about that is I can have some longevity in this career too. So it doesn't matter if you get injured. You can just keep on going. But no, there's no question about where my best ability lies, and that is in organising events. That's what I do and what I love, and that unique background that I have, I think, helps that a lot.
Yeah, 32 years as a race director, starting with the assistant race director role in the 1993 iconic City to Surf. What's remained the same, and what has changed as race director in that time? I'm thinking, like, when you first started, like, cheating wouldn't have been an issue, No GPS mats, nothing like that, no technology really.
No. I remember the first day I started at Fairfax, working under Ray Drury, who was the operations sort of director of City to Surf, and he had a paper map out of Sydney, and he had a bit of string, and I've gone up to him. I said, "What are you doing, Ray?" He's gone, "I'm measuring the course for the half marathon because we've got to set up a new course for the half." I've gone, "You're doing it with a piece of string?" He's gone, yeah, well, that'll just sort of get it pretty close, and then, we'll measure it later. But, I found the other day, even back into the late 90s, I found a paper entry form the other day, which was 12 pages long, that people used to have to fill out and mail into our offices at Fairfax. And then there were like 12 ladies who were employed to transcribe the paper entries into an old computer system. The timing mats weren't there. There was no social media. We were sending out entry forms to gyms and, run clubs and all sorts of things like this. It was very analog. So, starting from that point to where we are now, there's been an incredible amount of change, and it's good. Needed to happen. But, the technology, over the years has facilitated the growth of running and the, professional delivery of running and other sports as well. But no, it's chalk and cheese, mate. It's nothing like what it used to be, that's for sure.
Yeah, so give us an idea of the process to become a world marathon major. Like, what is just some of the criteria you had to meet?
But basically, there's a 104-point criteria which covers a range of different areas without getting too much into the specifics, because there's some restrictions on how much detail I can give. What they look at is really important things like, first and foremost, is the city a city that will be attractive to the global running community is important. Is the city a safe city? Is the climate suitable to marathon running? Is the event supported by government and agencies? These are sort of, I guess, baseline components. And then they look across the entire delivery of the event. So, the course, capacity of the course, can it handle the sort of numbers that will be, will be attracting once it becomes an Abbott World Marathon major? What are your medical services like? Are they up to scratch? Athlete services on the course, expo, a whole range of things. And it's very detailed, and they have 3 assessors who come out and observe everything, and they provide feedback to you on every single of the 104 points, and they either pass you or don't pass you. And you have to pass all of them 2 years in a row to be able to go through and become an Abbott World Marathon major. So, but they're very supportive, and the race directors of the other events are very supportive. The Abbott World Marathon majors are committed to a 9-race series, and they want the candidate racers who are in there, and including us, when we were a candidate race, they wanted us to pass. So they share that knowledge, that wealth of knowledge that they have, with the candidate racers, and help us get through the criteria and improve the events. So they complement the series, and they're events that the athletes on the Abbott World Marathon Majors journey are going to enjoy and talk about fondly, and enhances the whole series.
I think one thing that you guys have done, I've run it the last couple of years as a candidate race, and one thing you and your team have done particularly well that you should be so proud of is activating the crowd and getting the local people of Sydney that are non-competitors involved. Because I know New Zealand and Australia, I think we're kind of we're different to the Americans and the other World Marathon majors, where it's not in our DNA to go out and cheer for people we don't know. But I feel like you guys have sort of rewired Sydney in that respect, and it's given me so much pride to see the last couple of years, Wayne.
And that was one of our biggest challenges. And in fact, it's a criteria point. How many spectators you have. So it's important. And as you know, Dom, you've done some of the other majors, and one of the biggest points of difference between the TCS Sydney Marathon when we became a candidate race and the other world majors is the amount of community support that they have out on the streets. And, that and the finisher numbers we thought would be the two biggest challenges that we faced. Now, we spent a lot of marketing energy strategizing around how do we engage the running community and how do we engage the non-running community. And that was on two fronts. On one front, it was about how do we get the traditional marathon and half marathon or running community of Australia to step up from what was traditionally a half marathon running country. All the big races in Australia were getting 12 to 14, 15,000 people in halves, but they're getting 5 to 7 in the marathon. So one part of it was, how do we get people to step up? Really fun, creative, tongue-in-cheek campaigns around, why would you do half of anything? Come on, it's time to step up and run the full. Why would you do half of anything? This sort of stuff. And that was assisted greatly by, coming out of COVID and a whole lot of new people running who had no preconceived ideas on what a bucket list running event should be. So, all those new runners out of COVID in run clubs and whatnot as well, I'm running the Sydney Marathon. So that part of it looked after itself pretty quickly. But the non-running community support of the event was an area that we felt would be a real challenge. So we spent a lot of money on putting entertainment out on the course, communicating with the community right across the field of play, very thoroughly, and spent a lot of money on that, trying to enhance what was on the sidelines so that people would come out. I mean, naturally, when you get more runners in the marathon, you're going to get more spectators, which is good because the average runner will bring a few people out on race day to cheer them on. But we've seen really good growth in non-running community support. And this year, that's even more important because we want to make a big impact in 2025 as our first Abbott World Marathon major. And that is probably one of the main reasons why we've invested in some of the super elite athletes that we have invested in. In particular, Eliud Kipchoge and Sifan Hassan. These athletes are globally recognized athletes that are recognized outside of the running community. And they're probably, two of the only ones that might be recognized outside of the running community and have general public, awareness. So we invested heavily in that to capture the attention of Australian media so that every day during race week, mainstream media will be down there filming Eliud, filming Sifan. Everyone in Sydney will know that on Sunday, the 30th, 31st of August, the greatest marathon runner of all time will be running through the streets of Sydney. And why don't you bring your kids out to see this guy and cheer him on? And Sifan and all the other athletes too. And what I do know is when they do that once and they bring their kids out once and those kids see those athletes and the excitement those kids will have and the inspiration that they will feel, they're going to come out every year, right? And it's just going to grow and grow and grow. So it's a real strategic investment, not just to have, fast runners, on the streets of Sydney racing for quick times and having a good race for broadcast. It's about the broad appeal of the event right throughout the community in Australia and Sydney and building that support that will just elevate us in 1 year and then hopefully give us a leg up from there to grow.
Yeah. Since you dropped a couple of names there, let's park on that for a while. Because this is going to be the third time Eliud Kipchoge and myself go head-to-head. I'm hoping to keep him within an hour, which I've never done before, which is really exciting. You mentioned Kipchoge, Hassan, also Bridget Kosgei, the former world record holder. Like, it's a stacked field. It's just amazing. Yeah. What is the process? How do you get them over the line? Is it free tickets to Luna Park? What is it?
It's a combination of things, right? Because, in the case of Eliud, for example, he has all of the world majors trying to get him to run in their events, right? So it's not all about money, okay? For Eliud, who has run most of them, hasn't won all of them. It came down to, and this is how we pitched it, where will you have the most impact, right? And Eliud's a really special guy, and he's building a legacy, and he wants to have impact in communities. He's very passionate about the power of running and all of the benefits that brings to community and to people individually. And what we pitched to Eliud is, you've never raced in Sydney. We're a new world major. Australian running, participation in Australian marathons is a lot smaller than the other world majors. The community support for the Sydney Marathon isn't like the other world majors. This is an opportunity for you to come and have real impact on the running community in Sydney and Australia, and positive, community impact with kids, right throughout the course by coming and watching and being on the news and inspiring, people that wouldn't otherwise have seen the event, as much as they will that week during, the end of August when Eliud's in town, and the whole of Australia is focused on that. So we pitched that. He liked it. His management liked it. He agreed to come here. Of course, there's money involved, but in Eliud's case, it was a bit more about purpose and impact.
You're probably unable to answer this, but the money side of things, is it like in the hundreds of thousands, the tens of thousands?
Yeah, I can't really answer that, but it's not a small investment. I guess to put it in perspective, he's the most recognised marathon runner in the world, globally recognised outside of the running community and by all media. So, the impact he has and will have is important, and therefore he commands a fair and reasonable fee, would be how I would put it.
Yeah.
But it's not a small amount of money.
Do you think the like from conversations you have with like say the average Australian, maybe someone that just doesn't really know much about running, is there an appreciation yet of just what a big deal this is? I mean, the guy's a game changer, right?
I think there will be more appreciation of the impact of Sydney becoming an Abbott World Marathon major after the event. I think, and you will have seen this, Dom, and it's happening not just in Australia but right around the world. The massive growth of running throughout the world has been incredible. There's massive growth in entirely new demographics, that being the 25 to 35-year-olds, which were traditionally a much smaller group. That the growth in that sort of age range has been the strongest. What we are seeing is running becoming part of mainstream media now, where it's spoken about on news, on talk shows and whatnot, as football might be spoken about, and it's generally widely recognised as something that people are doing much more, passionate about, building communities right across the country that are healthy, that are fun, and there's just a massive shift in the positive sentiment, recognition, awareness of running around Australia, throughout the community and throughout the media. Now, what I think will happen after this year's event is people will see the impact, the excitement, the massive amount of media, the reporting of the success of the event after, the positive economic impacts and everything else. I think then it will sink in, wow, this is really special. This is really important. This is doing good stuff for the community and the state of New South Wales and Australia. and it's positive and healthy and good for the community. So that's what I think will happen. But it'll happen off the back of the fact that running now is part of the mainstream vernacular and discussion points of media and the community, where it just wasn't before COVID.
Oh, mate, I was saying to someone the other day, this is the first time in my life that I've been ahead of the curve when it comes to something cool. You know, I've been running for like 20 years and suddenly it's become a cool thing, and it feels awesome.
Well, it is, yeah, that's right. I mean, we've gone, it's totally shifted, and that's great. You know, it's cool. People are using run clubs for social activities now, and they're getting everything they want out of doing one thing that they might have needed to do three different things for, like going to the bar or going to a club, going to the gym, you know, and everything else. It's all sort of wrapped up nicely in one activity that's cheap, affordable, convenient, that's efficient in terms of getting you healthy, and they're fun and social. And that's the greatest thing about these new run clubs that just wasn't around before, is that they've really nailed that social and community aspect to their run clubs. And I think it's amazing. I think they've done an incredible job, and they've gone a long way to, you know, building this whole growth of running.
Yeah. Can you remember the moment you found out that Sydney had been accepted and was the world's 7th marathon major? Like, was it a big moment, or was it a slow moving? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do remember. I knew pretty well when the last person crossed the finish line that we'd nailed the criteria pretty well. I had to wait for a few, make sure reports came back in from the course that things went well out there. But I was pretty confident that we ticked all the boxes. And the feedback we got immediately after the race, because you do like what they call a hot debrief, right? So they get all of the team into a room the afternoon of the race to do just a hot debrief, 45 minutes, covering all the key points. And the feedback we got was really positive. So I was confident. I do remember the phone call I got from Donna Stone, who's the CEO of the Abbott World Marathon Majors. I was driving the car with the family, and Donna said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just driving the kids back from rugby training." She said, "I'll pull over." So I pulled over, and she told me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty special. It was very memorable. And then I couldn't tell anybody for 8 weeks other than my key staff, because it could not get out until the New York City Marathon, where it was going to be announced. It was probably the worst kept secret in running, to be honest, in the end. But, that day at the TCS New York City Marathon in November last year, it took our management team over, and getting up on that stage and putting our number 7 hat on the stage.
Wow.
And being awarded the number 7 plaque. That was really cool. A moment in life that you'll remember forever. It was really special. It was very emotional. The team, obviously we worked really hard, and it was stressful, and, we spent everything we had on making it through candidacy, every single cent. Like, we didn't make a profit for years because we invested everything back into making it into the Abbott World Marathon Majors, And again, going back, I just want to reiterate the support of the New South Wales government and Destination New South Wales and our partners. If we didn't have that, we would not have gone near making the criteria and becoming the 7th Abbott World Marathon Major. So that was really important. But yeah, mate, that phone call I got from Donna, I remember vividly pulling over and her telling me. And then the ceremony at New York City Marathon was just a really special celebration, of achievement, blood, sweat and tears and happiness and all those things.
Oh, and decades of hard work. Oh my God, 8 weeks is a cruel length of time to hang on to a secret. That's really mean. And it's really nice that you gave some flowers before to the government for the work that they've done, because like getting the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge shut down for a few hours, I can't imagine that's an easy thing to do. What's your favourite part of the course?
Look, I think my favourite part of the course, when I should say my favourite part of the day. So my two favourite parts of the day is easy. And for me, and then I'll go on to the course in a minute, but my two favourite parts of the day are about the different emotions you feel from the runners. Now, when I get to the start line, I walk through the venue, I walk through the start areas, I'm there observing everything that's happening, and the energy you feel at the start line and walking through the venue when people are stretching and getting ready to embark on this journey, for a lot of people is something that they have never done before, that they are nervous about, that there's anxiety. You can feel it in the air. And it's just this really sort of nervous but positive energy, and, people positively talking to each other about, you can do it, you've got this, and all that sort of stuff. That's really cool. I love that anticipation. Then everyone's just waiting on the start line for the gun to go, and then they're off, then it's just them and the road, right? That part of it I really love. And then equally, I love the finish line. And the reason why I love the finish line is also about emotion. And that is, as opposed to the start line where it's anxiety and fear and anticipation, the finish line, it's relief, pride, joy, and all these sorts of things that are sort of opposite to what you feel at the start. So those two emotions of the participants, and remember what I said before, it's all about the participant experience, and we're here to put on an event for the people who are running in that event, right, and deliver something special to the city. So those two parts of the event are the most special parts of the event. Now, the course, the parts of the course, look, Dom, you've run it. I think the TCS Sydney Marathon is possibly one of the most beautiful marathon courses in the world. It's not one of the easiest, but it's definitely one of the most beautiful. Now, Sydney Harbour Bridge, right, that's hard to beat. We closed the Harbour Bridge from 4 a.m. till midday. So, yeah, that is hard to do. But you've got so many things to look at on the course that distract you on your journey. Really beautiful parts of Sydney. We go past every single icon, St Mary's Cathedral, Lady Macquarie's Chair, the harbour itself, Centennial Parklands, and all of these beautiful areas of Sydney. And then, of course, the Sydney Opera House is the most special finish line in the world, in my opinion. There's just so much to do and see in that race that, create memories that you'll have forever. And a lot of people say to me, we were worried about this being a really tough course and it not being enjoyable at all. And nearly all of them, when I speak to them again, they go, it wasn't anywhere near as tough as what I thought. The hills themselves are not steep hills, they're gradual hills. It's still hilly, but they just said it was just awesome. We loved it. And some of them go, we ran a lot faster than what we thought we'd run, and some of them run PBs too. So, it's just a beautiful journey through a city, a beautiful city in a great country, and doing something that people love and having an amazing time. But so much, mate. I could talk forever about what I love about the Sydney Marathon and Sydney in Australia for sure.
Yeah, one thing that's really special is crossing the Harbour Bridge when you're still fresh. It's like 2 kilometres into it, so you're feeling good. The finish line, everyone's kind of rooted by that point. By the way, that's a controversial hot take you had before, saying it's the best of the majors finishing spots. That's a big shout. Yeah, Berlin's going to be pissed off. London's going to be fuming.
I have a running friendly banter with Hugh Braysher from London Marathon, who very adamantly states that the castle, the palace backdrop at London Marathon is definitely better than Sydney, he says. But what I say to that is, but the runners get to look at the Opera House when they're finishing, and that's what they're running towards, and it's a lot closer. So, yeah, there's a good fun banter between the race directors. Like, whilst they all support each other incredibly and work together on how to strategically grow and improve the series in a real cooperative a friendly, robust way. They're like athletes. These race directors, they are like athletes, and they are competitive, and they definitely want their race to be the best, the fastest, the most beautiful, the best organised, the biggest. They're very competitive. They are elite athletes of event management for sure. So there is banter, but that's okay. I stand by it. I still think Sydney's the best.
Actually, you do raise a really good point. Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know London, you run past Buckingham Palace and then it's like 300 metres to the finish. Same as Berlin, you run through the Brandenburg Gates and then it's like another 400 metres to the finish. So you've got you're back to these iconic landmarks. Yeah, okay, I'll give you a point for that one.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, it's getting harder and harder to get into. Like we had a ballot system last year for this year's event. What's the future vision for Sydney? Is it going to be ballots? Qualifying times like Boston? What's the plan?
So, yeah, like this year was the first year we held a ballot for the 2025 event, which we opened in December 2024. And that was important because we wanted to capture what the full demand for running in the TCS marathon was as we became an Abbott World Marathon major. And the best way to do that is to open a ballot so you can determine who wants to run. Now, that's not just important for that reason, but it allows us to be able to look forward and be able to plan ahead at what we think growth will look like and how we manage growth, right? So there's real strategic importance in the case of us doing our first ballot. Secondly, a ballot allows us to, see where people are coming from and make sure we've got a nice spread of people from around the world and throughout Australia. Where it will go moving forward is similar to what we're doing now, right? And that is, and this is not to say it won't evolve from here. How we're doing it this year is we created a new travel program, a new charity program. We introduced a sub-elite program and allocated spots to those. So I think it was about 8,000 spots we allocated to travel, and there's a number allocated to charity and to the sub-elite program, and the rest were ballot. Now, in terms of growth, we jumped from 21,000 on the start line last year to what we are wanting to see this year, which is 35,000.
Amazing.
Now that's a big jump in 1 year. So and the only way we could do that was to get extra time on the Harbour Bridge and extra time on the road, and to reduce the size of the 10K. So this year, for the last time, there will be a 10K after the marathon, and then that will be gone because we need that space to accommodate the growth of the marathon. So by having extra time on the road, extra time on the bridge, it enabled us to take those entry numbers and make that big leap, but still have the same runner density on the course. And that's what's the important thing, maintaining the crowd flow and management of the people throughout the course at the same density. So we will grow. My plan is to, if things go well this year, after getting rid of the 10K next year, having another 5,000 on the start line next year, and just keep adding that until we get to about 50,000. And that feels like probably about the right number for us. Now, we might change sub-elite programs moving forward. We might introduce more formal age group qualified sort of categories, but we'll never go to a Boston-like format where it is predominantly that. The majority of the entries will still come through the ballot, travel and charity programs, open to anyone.
Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, if you had any tips or advice for Kiwis who want to try and get a spot for 2026, what would it be?
Well, firstly, enter the ballot. That's a good starting point. And if you don't get in the ballot, depending on how fast you are or not, then, travel program and charity programs are good options. The good thing about, New Zealand being so close to Australia is that the travel program costs are probably a lot smaller with, Kiwi packages than they would be from Europe or North America. So the investment isn't as much as you would have to make if you were going to New York or, London or whatnot.
Yeah.
So they're different options. Get to know a sponsor, perhaps. But, that's sort of how it's going to be. And you're right. The demand for the World Majors races is incredible. Like the TCS London Marathon this year opened their ballot on race weekend and had 1.3 or 1.2, 1.3 million applications in their ballot a week later.
Wow.
And that's incredible demand. And that's why it's good that the Abbott World Marathon Majors series is expanding, because, there's so many people who want to run in these races that can't be accommodated. And by adding the 3 races to the series, it will hopefully keep them within the ecosystem, get them on the journey, and get them excited about chasing the other ones, instead of maybe, being disheartened and moving away from the series. So, and they're all oversubscribed, which is good for us. I'm hoping, we had nearly 80,000 people apply in the ballot in December. The most applications we'd ever had before was 24,500 in 2024. So 80,000 people applied in, for this year's event. I'm really curious to see what growth there will be in ballot applications this year. And we'll open the ballot at the end of September, last week of September this year, so a lot earlier than last year. So people need to be mindful of that and keep an eye on that. We'll obviously be communicating through our channels, but don't miss that ballot window. That's for sure. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. I feel like you are the Sydney Marathon, so there's no better person to answer this question than you, Wayne. But if Sydney Marathon had one defining value or ethos, what would it be?
It's got a few, but if I would say beauty. I think the Sydney Marathon is a beautiful course that delivers a beautiful experience in a beautiful city, with beautiful, fun people that will celebrate with you, will talk to you and have a chat. And there's so many values that Sydney-siders, Australians, and the city and the event offer. Well, that's one that goes across several of those, I would say. But, there's so many reasons to come and run Sydney.
I would have said fun. If someone asked me, I would have said fun. I think it's out of all the majors, and I've done all 6.
Yeah.
It's fun. It feels like more of a community vibe, and there's more. I don't know. There's just something about the whole CBD area of Sydney. It just feels like more of a party vibe afterwards than other events for some reason.
You've nailed one of our key strategies, Dom, and I've said this publicly, and I've said it to all of the other Abbott World Marathon Majors race directors. I want Sydney Marathon to be recognised as the most fun Abbott World Marathon Majors event in the world, and we want to not just wave to our participants at the expo and at the start and the finish. We want to curate their journey throughout our city. We want to show them where the great restaurants are. We want to, and we'll be collaborating with a bunch of retailers and bars and restaurants. We want to hold our participants' hands and celebrate with them after the race with, we've got Ivy Pool Bar, Pool Party, and a number of other post-race functions and activities for people to just have the best time that they can. And as you know, Dom, when people set their minds to running a marathon, often they will, really sacrifice a lot to get there. Like, they'll cut back their drinking, they'll eat healthy, they'll go to bed early for months, and when they finish, that elation and joy and happiness and everything else, they want to go and have a good time, and we're going to help them.
Yeah, Well, that's definitely the vibe I've got the last couple of years. It's bloody great. Instead of just like doing the Kiwi or Australian thing and putting the medal in your pocket, you sort of wear it around your neck for the evening with a huge sense of pride. Yeah. Hey, I mentioned on Instagram that you're coming in, so I've got a couple of Instagram questions here. What's something you'd love to improve or change about the race in the next 5 years?
Look, I think managing the growth of the event is probably one of the biggest areas of focus for us, and making sure that participant journey throughout the course, but not just throughout the course, but after they finish, is a good one. As we grow, you got to think a lot more about access and crowd flow and things like that. So that's something we really need to keep thinking about. In terms of participant experience during the race, we want to continue to engage the community and build the number of people out cheering on these runners throughout Sydney, to the point where we are recognised in a similar way to what London and New York City and the other world majors are recognised, and that community support, and we want to see the event celebrated throughout the entire community, and we want the community, even if they're not running, to feel like they're a part of the event, and bring everyone together on that day, and for the last Sunday in August every year to be recognised as the TCS Sydney Marathon Day, and everyone celebrates it. Retailers, people along the course, government, our partners, the runners, their families and friends, the media. So that elevation of the event into what will be Sydney Marathon Day, a day that everyone celebrates because of everything positive it brings to the community, whether they're runners or not runners, businesses or whatever.
Oh, and you're going to succeed, no, 100%. Like, seeing from where you've come to where you are now, you're definitely going to tick all those boxes. If you could ban one thing from race day forever, what would it be? AirPods, costumes, shirtless bros?
Ban. Oh, look, I don't know. Like, I think, if people aren't risking the safety of other runners, I'm sort of, go do what you want to do. Have fun, enjoy it. Don't risk anyone else's safety. But if you want to go and take selfies of yourself the entire way around the course, go and take selfies of yourself around the course. If you want to listen to music, while you run, listen to music while you run, so long as you can hear what's going on. I don't like having too many rules. I think there's too many rules in society as there is. We want to make sure that people just can be themselves. We want to be inclusive. We want to welcome everyone from all parts of the community, and we want them all to feel like they are welcome and that they're a part of this community and their place is there on that day. So that's what's most important to me. And, everyone, I want everyone to come. I want everyone to enjoy it, everyone to be themselves, to be proud, to do something special. Banning, well, I can't even think of, whatever. Obviously you don't like people cheating and things like this, but, just be respectful, have fun, support each other, be one on that day.
I love that. That's the most Australian answer ever. Just do it. Have a good time. I love it. I love it so much. If we made a Netflix drama about the Sydney Marathon, what would the title be and who's playing you? Russell Crowe, I reckon. We could get Russell Crowe as Wayne Lardy.
Russell Crowe. I don't know about that. Maybe Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson? Oh, come on. Eric Banner, I reckon. Eric Banner, Hugh Jackman, or Russell Crowe.
Old and grey beard.
Yeah, your idea of a title.
Up a bit there, mate, but maybe a title. I don't know.
Number 7. Number 7. Yeah. For any Kiwis listening to this that obviously cannot get a place this year, why should they still come over and watch?
There's still a lot of Kiwis running. I've got to check the exact numbers, but It's a nice, easy ride. You'll probably know people running. It's, airfares are pretty cheap at the moment across the ditch. And you all know Sydney. We all, whilst we love to banter with each other and give each other a bit of a rib, we always love each other, and you'll have a good time. So come over and get some inspiration, cheer on your mates, and come and have a good time, have a good weekend. Go to some of the shakeout runs, be a part of it, and look forward to hopefully getting in next year. But why not? It's like we're just so close. Why wouldn't you? It's like someone flying from Melbourne to Sydney to have a look, or a little bit more than that. But it's just such a great weekend. I think it's going to be one of those defining moments in running on the 31st of August, when we do deliver, Australia's and Oceania's first Abbott World Marathon Major. And, Kiwis have been a big part of this event for a long time. They've always been in the top 3 countries of participation traditionally, not now, because we're getting big numbers out of North America and Europe and other places. But Kiwis have been a big part of this event for a long time.
Yeah, mate, the ribbing that you're talking about, I can tell you that's rooted in a deep jealousy. Like our flagship beach, Takapuna, hasn't got anything on Bondi. I'm admitting that on the record here and now today. Also, I'm
a Manly beach guy myself.
The Kipchoge factor, like I know we talked about him in a bit of length earlier on, but I can't think of many other sport in the world where an ordinary, everyday, weekend warrior can take part on the same course or the same playing platform as the same day as the world's best. It's a unique opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that one of the main attractions of running events and the marathon is exactly that. When you compare it to other sports like, rugby, like league, or any ball sport, as a sport, they have a lot of people who go and watch, which is good, and that's nice. But what we have is a lot of people who take part, who are so emotionally engaged in running and the event, because they are participants just the same as Kipchoge is, right? And that level of engagement, if you think about an audience, and it's an interesting sidebar to this, Dom, and that is that the number of non-endemic commercial brands that are now coming to us out of the blue that would never have spoken to us before, because they've finally realized that this sport has scale now. But not only does it have scale and eyes on social media channels and broadcasts and whatnot, it has passionate participants who are fully engaged in the event, who read everything, who open everything, running and the Sydney Marathon now is an extremely attractive commercial proposition for non-endemic brands that would never have been involved in the sport in the past, because of this fact that people are, they're doing it. They're passionate, that, they'll read everything. And that's a unique perspective for a commercial brand that's used to waving to an audience through a broadcast or on a sideline. They can go up and shake their hand, and have a conversation, and it's completely different.
Shit, you must be proud of yourself. Do you stop and smell the roses at all, or you just tunnel vision ahead all the time?
Look, my mind goes a million miles an hour. I'm proud of what Pont 3 has achieved as a company. I'm proud of the team and how we've grown and what we've achieved. As you know, it's not one person. I just happen to be the head of the company and the race director, and have had this vision for a long time. But the talent that we brought in, or the IP that we've built over the years and experience that we've gained, and the talent that we've brought in that enabled us to jump from what was a great city event to becoming an Abbott World Marathon Major. I'm really proud of that and what we've developed together. So yeah, I am proud of it. I do reflect on it every now and then, but I am always looking forward, always.
Yeah.
And it's just how I am. I'm like, my mind is 3, 4, 5 years ahead or more, all the time, and it just spins fast.
Well, it served you really well. I'm proud to be involved with it as an ambassador, and it's been just wonderful watching the growth of the event over the last 2 years. And I can't see where it goes in the next 2 years, 5 years, and beyond that. One last question to finish with: what's more exhausting, running a marathon in 2 hours 16 4 seconds, or behind the scenes running an event like this?
I would run the marathon any day of the week ahead of race directing the marathon, because your marathon starts as the race director months before. Race week, like, you literally do not sleep. It would be rare that I would get an hour's sleep the night before the race, and I'm on site by 2 a.m., sometimes earlier every year, because I wake up, and once you're awake, you're on. So my race starts on race day at 2 a.m. It doesn't finish till 10 p.m. And there's a lot of stress, a lot to think about. Your anxiety levels are high. Obviously through doing it for years, you learn how to manage that. And now we've got a bigger team. Some of that responsibility is shared, far more widely, which is good. But I would run the race any day over race directing it, and without question.
Although as race director, you don't have to have any gels on race day, which is a plus.
Well, you know what? Actually, funny you should mention that, because we talk about our staff's well-being and making sure you have sunscreen, you drink, you eat, getting food packages out to volunteers who are out on the course for 7 or 8 hours. That's the nutritional requirements of race directing or volunteering or anything else are just as important as the nutritional requirements of the runners. Not that we are going for high performance, fast times, but we've got to keep people on their feet for, literally 8-10 hours.
Yeah,
that's a long time. That's 2 hours longer than or hour and a half longer than the cutoff time. So nutrition is important, though different. Yeah, very different.
Hey, well done. Wayne Larden, you are a true blue Aussie legend, mate, and congratulations for everything you've done. And hopefully we get to meet at the end of August this year. It'd be wonderful to connect in real life.
Yeah, no, mate. I look forward to meeting you, mate. I look forward to hearing about your experience this year and the changes that we've made, and that feedback from runners for us is crucially important. But, mate, thanks for your support too. Thanks to all the Kiwis who are coming over, who've supported us over the years, and I look forward to seeing you all here as an Abbott World Marathon major at some point. So, thanks for having me on, Dom.
Legend, cheers, mate. I'm stealing that hat if I see you in person.
I might save one for you, mate. If you're lucky, we'll see how we go.
Oh, you're a legend. Wayne Larden, race director for the TCS Sydney Marathon, powered by Essex. Thanks so much, mate.
Cheers, mate.